welcome to the Daily Fabric Fondle. Today's edition is a What is Lori Doing edition of the Daily Fabric Fondle. And today I'm going to make some napkins. Here's an example of a napkin that one of my kids made. I don't know which one. Maybe Addison, maybe Hunter, I don't know. But this is a great project for both kids and beginner sewists because they are fairly quick to make. When we do our after-school sewing classes at the elementary schools, kids love making napkins. Anytime, what? I think you made this napkin, Addison. Anytime there's downtime, they always say, can we make another napkin? Can we make another napkin? So napkins are quite popular. Great thing about napkins is you can make them any size you want. They can be rectangular, they can be square, they can be small, they can be big, whatever you want. You just use up whatever you happen to have on hand. Just make sure you have two pieces that are the same size and some pins. The right side is the bright side of the fabric that you can see the pattern on really well. And then the wrong side is the dull side of the fabric. You can't see the pattern. Right side, wrong side. When we sew our napkin, we're going to put right sides together. Like this. Bright sides touching. And we're going to line up the two pieces of fabric as best we can. You should always flip it over, double check the other side, make sure nothing is escaping. Actually, we'll keep this side on top. I'm going to pin now all the way around my napkin. And yes, you should pin so the fabric doesn't wiggle as much. I like to put my pins towards the middle so that when I'm sewing, they are easy to pull out. We'll put in a couple pins per side. A mistake I always make after I've pinned something is I go to smooth it out and there's pins in it, of course, because we just pinned it, and I always want to go like this and I always stab myself. So I have to remember to pat if I want to smooth it out and not rub, because whoa, that hurts. So now we're going to get a pen. We like Frixion pens. They iron off. We are going to mark a spot for a hole, because right now my napkin is inside out. So if I mark a spot for a hole, I can right side out it when I'm finished sewing. Let's go to the machine. I'm going to bring my pin cushion, because unlike Michelle, I take my pins out as I sew. Don't sew over the pins, kids. So I'm at my machine here. You will notice there's some blue tape on my machine. That's going to help me keep a steady 1/4 inch seam allowance as I am sewing. I'm going to start at my line that I drew at the bottom of the hole. That's where I'm going to start sewing. I'm going to hold my tails out the back, and I'm going to go forward a couple stitches, and then I'm going to do a back stitch. Back stitch will strengthen that first stitch because we're going to be pulling on that hole when we right side out it. We don't want the stitches to come undone. Now I'm going to sew, keeping my fabric right next to the blue line, the blue tape here. I'm going to sew almost all the way to the corner. My needle is down. Lift my presser foot up and spin and take that corner. I'm going to keep sewing. Oh, pin! Just stop completely. Take my pin out, put it in my pin cushion, and continue sewing. Well, I like to get in the habit when I take a pin out, I flip my fabric over and make sure the back is still lined up with the front. Because even though we've pinned it, sometimes things wiggle. So I take a pin out and make sure everything looks lined up, and I continue sewing. Pin! Take my pin out, and I check the back. Everything's still lined up. Keep going to the corner. And stop. Lift up the presser foot. Don't forget to put your presser foot back down at the corners. My machine will beep at me. See if my presser foot's up. It won't let me sew. But some machines will let you sew. And you have a giant knot on the back if your presser foot is up. Pin! Back, we're good. I actually can see a little bit of the back on the front here. That's a good way to also make sure you haven't lost the back, because if you can see a little sliver of it, that's okay. It's great. You know the back is still with you. Pin! I'm going to sew to the corner. Stop about there. Lift my presser foot up and spin. Ooh, pin! Stop completely. Now we are approaching our other line that we drew. We have to make sure we stop somewhere around the line. It doesn't have to be exact. And do another back stitch. Needle up, presser foot up, pull it out, and we'll trim the threads. So I've sewn all around. I've sewn all around my square, except for where we had lines for the hole. So I have a hole up top. Now I'm going to inside out, or right side out, I should say, my napkin. Just make sure all your corners are crisp, 90-degree angle corners. And now we are going to close the hole and top stitch all the way around the napkin. Because remember, we still have a hole in our napkin. So if you can see, I've got some raw edges here that I'm going to tuck in. I'm going to go over to my iron. And I'm going to put the flaps in, tuck the raw edges in, give a quick press. And I will also, while I'm here, press all of my seams all the way around. Okay, now I'm going to top stitch all the way around the napkin. The top stitch closes the hole and makes a decorative stitch all the way around. The top stitch close to the edge of my fabric, so I'm not quite up against the blue tape in this case, because we have to remember we have to catch those flaps that I've tucked in. And sometimes also I lengthen the stitch. It was at 2.5. Sometimes when I top stitch I put it at 3. It's crazy like that. Hold your tails forward a couple stitches, back stitch, and we're going to sew all the way around the napkin, close to the edge. Again, this is a top stitch. And when I meet up with my original stitches, do another couple quick back stitches, needle up, presser foot up, and I can trim these threads pretty close to the napkin because they are secured with a back stitch. And now we have a napkin. Isn't that cute? We can use it at dinner tonight. Goes right in the washing machine, in the dryer. What a great way to save on your paper products. And this is way cuter than a white paper napkin. Thanks for joining us today on the Daily Fabric Fondle and a special edition of What is Lori Doing?